Hi, I'm Frank Tybush. I'm a filmmaker and I'm interested in history. Work brought me to Fells Point, a historic district in Baltimore, Maryland. It's one of the oldest communities in the country, and all around you see history being preserved and history dying. That got me thinking, how do people save history at risk? Thank you for talking with me today. Could you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay. My name is Joseph C. Trabert Jr., but I have a nickname of Turkey Joe. And the Turkey Joe, everybody asks, well, where did you get it? When I was a kid, and I was much, much thinner, I have a big nose, I have a long neck, and no chin. That's why I have a beard. And I looked like a turkey. They called me Turkey Neck. And I hated the name, so after a while, people just called me Turkey Joe. And it stuck. I've had it for 40 years.
Oh, not very many nicknames last that long, but that's...
Well, when I bought a bar in Fells Point, and I had to come up with a name, and believe it or not, I was going to call it after a Frank Sinatra film, and I decided, no, I'm going to call it Turkey Joe's, and that's where it became successful, and that's where I started collecting beer cans.
And that's why we're here talking to you today, is you have quite an extensive collection of beer cans, beer paraphernalia, glasses.
Breweriana.
Breweriana, thank you. And so you know the official term. And it seems to me that there's a lot of collectors of very different objects out there.
There's a club that I belong to, the Beer Can Collectors of America. They've changed it, I call it that people collect specific things. And there's a lady who collects bags, paper bags that they used to put a six-pack in, and she collects that. She's got a great collection.
Oh, wow.
I have some upstairs. There are people that collect coasters. People collect beer cans, beer openers, bottles. You know that bottles before Prohibition, which was when 1919 to 1933, beer came in bottles that had corks on. I mean, it had a seal on it, and before that, it had a cap on it.
Huh.
And Baltimore was famous because of crown, cork, and seal. But you can still find these bottles that says "not for sale," and they're embossed. They're really neat. There are a lot of people that collect them.
Interesting that people collect these things, but it seems like there's there's definitely a historical aspect to this, and that with these collections, people are really preserving history, and it seems like there's a story that all of these collections tell.
I agree with you. The cans didn't come out till 1933, and the first can was a Kruger from New Jersey decided to try cans, and nobody has a copy or has in real the Kruger can. They're paper ads and all, but nobody, and some people would pay $10,000 for
wow.
a can, at least.
Wow.
A good collector. Now, some of these cans, Al Capone had a brewery.
He did.
And it was called, I'm pretty sure it was called Rose. And the Rose can sold for $6,000 because it was Al Capone's can.
Wow. So, can I take a look at your collection?
Sure.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, so you're going to show me some of your collection.
Well, first of all, let me tell you how I got into the can business.
Okay.
I had a bar in Fells Point that opened in 1972, and there was a beer salesman. They're called drummers, a beer drummer, who wanted me to buy a product from him. And so, what are you going to do? And he gave me these two cans. It's a National and a Gunther can.
Okay.
And he gave me two of them, and I put them up, and a man came in and said he would like to get two of the four. And I said, what do you give me for it? And he said 100 beer cans.
Wow.
And that's what he gave me, and that's what got me started in the beer can business. I built some shelves and put them up there. And the deal was, if you could bring me a beer can that I didn't have, I'd give you a free draft, not a drink, a free draft. So that's how I got into this. I also really got into collecting glasses.
Okay.
Because they were easier to get to. You could buy them in thrift stores, etc. And Baltimore had about 5 or 6 different breweries. The first one, of course, everybody knows National Beer. I don't have the Mr. Bow here. And that's a famous beer. And then there was at Gunther, and Gunther was the largest selling beer up until after World War II, even up till 1950, when National brought out Mr. Bow. And Mr. Bow really caught the kids, and the kids started by that, anybody under 30 years of age. They really liked the Mr. Bow, and so they started drinking National.
Which everybody still knows today.
Mm-hmm.
At least if you're in Baltimore.
People call it Natty Bow. I never heard that until in the 1990s or 2000. And then one of the other things, a company came in, Tuborg, and that's where I sold their beer, Tuborg. And later on, I got selling National Bow. But let me show you an example. Here's a perfect example of what happens. They look like they're pretty much the same, but they're not. There's a little bit of difference. What would happen if you sold this beer and then a keg of beer went up $5? You didn't want to charge somebody a penny more, so you would get a smaller glass. And you would keep these. This is a 12 ounce, this is 11 and a half. So then you would keep going when you got down to maybe a 10 and a half. That was when you would go back to this and charge a nickel more.
So bars had whole collections of different size glasses?
Down in the basement, almost every bar did.
Really?
These are I didn't do it, but shot and beer glasses. Now, there were different kinds of, this is called a growler. I have no idea where the term comes from. And what would happen is, a man would go down the corner bar, get a couple beers, get that filled up, and his wife, before he left, Frank, hold on a minute. Right?
Yeah.
His wife, before he left, would take a little bit of butter and put it on here, because as soon as the beer came up and hit that, it would flatten out, and there would be no foam. So she would get, all this would be all beer.
That might be a trick I'm going to try sometime.
Okay. And there's different types of cans. The can came out in 1933, after Prohibition. And these were the cans. This is a flat top.
Okay.
And then they tried a cone. This is called a cone top. And they tried the cone top to make it look more like a bottle. The only problem was it was much harder to stack in the refrigerators and all. So this didn't last. I never drank out of one of these. This stopped in 1950, and I was not old enough to drink, needless to say. But this is a cone top, and this was made in this can was made in Baltimore, Maryland, by Crown Cork and Seal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and this is called an extruded can.
Okay.
Because it's only two parts. There's
Take a look here.
The whole thing, and then the bottom, and this is a three-piece can. The bottom, the sides, and the top. So there are two different kinds of cans.
Yeah, these look like something you find in a hardware store now. You wouldn't look at them and think that it would be something you drink out of.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, now, this is a regular can. Beer can collectors like to collect them with the top on. So they open them from the bottom, and it looks like it's, when it's on the shelf, it looks like it's never been opened. That's now.
Now, do you know when the they started adding the flip top? I don't know what the proper name is.
Of course I do, Frank. What the hell? I mean, I'm an authority on beer cans.
Well, that's why.
1963.
1963.
They started adding this. Pittsburgh Brewing Company put this on. And here is probably one of the most valuable cans I have. National Bow came out with a 007 can. It was just regular National Bow. They thought it would collect. And this is a what we call a dummy can. So it's an air can.
Okay.
This is probably worth $300.
Wow.
This can here.
And what year did that come out?
Oh boy, you got me. I think 67.
67.
But National, one of the things they tried is they tried to have Colt 45, and they were putting their money on Colt 45. And Frank, right to your right, the third glass.
Over here.
Third glass.
Right here.
There you go. That is a Colt 45 glass. National came down to us bar owners in Fells Point, and they were going to try to sell malt liquor.
Malt liquor.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what happened was we went around to a bar and we tried it, and it was too strong. And the guys, hey man, people were going like it. I said, people like it. The 3 beers and they're drunk. I don't want people to get drunk. I want people to drink. None of us put this on the tap, and National was very upset. It went into other bars, and it was very successful. Not in Fells Point. There wasn't a bar that had it. This is the Skipjack. This is the National Boat Skipjack. This little sailboat, and it's a one like an oyster boat down on the harbor.
Okay.
And this would go around the harbor, and there was a man who was in charge of this, and they had a little can, a little 8-ounce can called the Skipper. And he'd say, you want a beer? And he would take this little 8-ounce can and skip it along the water to the guy in the next boat, and people would drink it. It was very popular to drink the Skipper.
Huh.
Bock beer came out in February every year. And people said it was because they were cleaning out the vats. Well, that's not true. What happens is they would just take beer and add more malt and more hops in it to make it stronger. Because in the old days, the monks during Lent only lived on beer. They made the beer, so they would make it very strong. So it was like eating bread. It was like eating a meal. So Bock beer was strong and dark.
Must have made an interesting
Lent. I love Bock beer. That was my favorite beer. There was a bar downtown that had it on tap all year long.
And I take it they're not making it anymore, or do they still
sure.
make it? Oh, they still make
Yeah,
it? I'll have to try.
But they don't. There's a current beer, Shiner beer in Texas, which is a marvelous beer. And they have a marvelous bottle. We buy that. I have that at home. Shiner Bock. If you want a nice, good American beer. That's
Shiner Bock. Now, what if you had to say, what has been your favorite beer to drink, just out of curiosity?
Guinness.
Guinness. Okay.
Now, and the reason is, and I liked it in Ireland, the reason is that you can't get drunk on Guinness. You fall asleep before you get drunk. So I really like Guinness, because you'll be sitting there all of a sudden, you're like this.
It's a nice hearty drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Well, thank you very much for talking with us. Mm-hmm. That was an amazing collection, and I'm glad you
What
got
is
to share.
What is it called? The collection of beer stuff. Frank Breweriana.
Breweriana. Breweriana. I knew I was going to screw it up, and that's why I just didn't want to say it. Oh, I learned so much that it's just all trying to fit in there. So.
Well, it's good for you.
Yeah, and I'm glad we got to show it to everybody. So.
Good.